Hey there, everybody. Gen X Man back with another video. We got a new episode of Daredevil Born Again, episode 7, titled Art for Art's Sake, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the MGM logo. And I did a quick minute of research and didn't find any sort of connection, so it's rather odd name for an episode for a company that has absolutely nothing to do with MGM. And I don't know, maybe I'm seeing threads that aren't actually there, but it was weird. It caught my attention. Regardless, spoilers ahead just in case you had any doubts. But here we are again with Kingpin born. I'm sorry, Daredevil born again, or am I? Because I tell you, this show just keeps being less and less about Matt Murdock and things that make sense around him, and more about how Kingpin gets all the nice, streamlined, sensical, plot-driven character development. Matt just gets everybody screaming at him that he's either not doing enough or doing too much. There ain't a single person in Matt's corner. Not a single one. Not his girl, not Cherry, not Kirsten, not Ayala, whatever her name is. Oh my goodness. Just everybody is on his case. But anyway, so we got another scene of Kingpin actually being a real character, and it's interesting because here he is. He's like, look out this window. What do you see? And he's talking about the city's in fear because of Muse, and they can't find him. He's concerned about that, and that just I mean, it's just like he's taking this very seriously. He's internalizing the safety of the city and the struggle, and I mean, so again, you see a lot more of Kingpin doing stuff than Daredevil. Daredevil's kind of playing catch up and such, and Daredevil's just not getting. They're not letting him off the leash to just be Daredevil. There's just so much, and we got got a bit of a racy scene between him and Heather that felt very awkward because there's just absolutely no freaking chemistry between those two actors at all, and it's like I didn't like that. But and there was another interesting little Heather facial expression moment where he's talking about the life he had with the old firm and so on, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, at your old firm with Foggy and Kara." I mean, she was just absolute 100% either jealousy or moroseness or something. Where I was just kind of like, it's a really strange reaction. The best I could come up with was she jealous of his life, and she just wants him to burn all that down and forget it and just be like, well, no, you're with me now, so this is all that matters. It's like nobody comes into a relationship tabula rasa, just clean slate. It don't work like that. So it's just weird. And then poor Matt is at work at this scene. Oh my God, him and there's a scene with him and Cherry, and Cherry has figured out that he suited up and he went out and he took out Muse. And Cherry is furious. He's livid. He's just like, what the hell are you doing? And just, I'm sitting here like, he saved the Ayala girl. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's stopping a serial killer. I was like, explain to me how any of this is bad. And Matt says it himself. He's like, the police have had this in their bag for who knows how long. And Daredevil finds him in a day, you know? And Cherry's just absolute raging hostility at this makes no sense. Like, if he was concerned about Matt putting on the suit and blowing up his life again, as he says, then that would be the angle. But he would also acknowledge that, hey, Daredevil did a heroic thing. He did a good thing. He did the right thing. I mean, if he hadn't done anything, the Alella girl would be dead. And Muse's body count would be at least 61. Cherry used to be a cop. Does he Is he forgotten public safety and all that? And he's just kind of like, well, my only duty is to stand here and ball out Matt every time he thinks about putting on the suit. It's not a character, dude. But anyway, and also as a surprise to absolutely nobody, the neurotic guy at the book signing is Muse. Oh, what a twist! Except it's not. But And the when they're talking about Muse and they're kind of expositing his backstory, switching back and forth between the god awful Angie Kim actress talking to Kingpin, and then switching over to Heather and her talking with Muse and such, and that inclusion of talking about Taekwondo was so forced and awkward. I was just sitting there rolling my eyes. I was like, okay, I get it. And then he's just like, oh, and he killed his master. It's like, what is this? Is this a Hong Kong action flick? You know, I mean, come on. No, it was awkward. It was clumsy. It was cliche. It just did not work. And I bring that up because that seems to be a common theme in that there's a lot of really clumsy writing. Like my wife was saying, it's like, well, wait, was this during the writer's strike? Was this written by, the undergrads and the AI and all that such? And I was like, I honestly don't know. That's an interesting angle to kind of experiment with and research and be like, is that it? Is that why this is so awkward? And, yeah, whatever. And then you got yet another scene of characters bawling each other out that doesn't make a whole lot of sense when Kirsten is bawling out Cherry for keeping secrets, and I'm like, barely okay, okay. So you're saying so you're working at this law firm, and the lead dude, or maybe just the senior part, whatever Matt is at this law firm, is acting very busy and distracted and rushed. Okay, fine. He's not missing court dates. He's not asking everybody to cover for him. He has not abused the firm's resources in any way. He's not abused the firm's employees in any way that we've been shown. So what exactly is she throwing a hissy fit about? It's like, okay, so he's acting a little different. So what? He's still covering his responsibilities. The firm's still going on. What does it matter if he's a little off? And to go after Cherry with this just hostility about how, oh, you're keeping secrets, and Cherry's like, I keep confidentiality just like Matt does, just like you do. And she's just like, no, you can't keep any secrets from me because I'm character XYZ. I mean, it doesn't work. Again, the characters around Kingpin all have very clear motivations and work. The characters surrounding Matt are just there to hype up this forced tension that just does not work. Or at least it doesn't for me. I watched it twice to make sure. I was like, well, I have to make sure it's not just when I watch something the first time, I don't really put a lot of credit in my first impressions because I'm not really all that smart. So I have to watch it twice. Also, okay, so then we switch to here's another good point. We switch over to Heather having her weekly meeting with Muse, or maybe an emergency meeting. We don't know. We aren't told. And there's obviously raised voices and stuff going on. And I'm like, where is Heather's secretary? Where is her office staff? I was like, nobody who has I mean, let's say that she has her own outfit. She has her own company going on. Okay, but she's got employees. She doesn't run her own books. She doesn't file her own taxes. She doesn't, you know, alphabetize her files and all that kind of stuff. She doesn't run the insurance payments and all that crap. No, she has staff. And they would absolutely hear something and be like, the hell's going on? Even barring that, let's say she is the total package and she runs her whole business by herself by some miracle. Okay, fine. She is in a New York office building. She has neighbors. And those neighbors are going to hear raised voices and bangs and such, and they're going to be like, "The hell's going on?" So they're either going to just straight up call the cops, they're going to call the landlord, they're going to come over and figure out what's going on. There's going to be some sort of intervention. So having her have this situation with Muse where nobody else gets involved is unrealistic. And again, we get back to this. Was this written during the writer's strike? I don't know. Might be worth my time to figure out. But hey, here's another positive though. Here's another positive. That Michael Gandolfini. I'm loving his character, especially now. Like I liked him before. He was just goofy enough to be interesting, kind of like Foggy. And and here he is. He's flipped the script on that BB character. the exposition machine BB. And it is just awesome. It is just she burned him, and now he's just like, okay, you burned me. This is how it is. And you're just like, man, I'm loving watching him grow, along with all the growth and development we get with Kingpin and Vanessa and Buck and all this such and so on. Those characters, like I said, the bad guys are so much more cleanly written and make more sense and are more, I mean, their stories are more interesting. It's not necessarily characters. Like Daredevil's a very interesting character, but they're not giving him a story to explore that or enjoy it. So we're kind of stuck here. But oh, and also finally, Vanessa setting up Luca. Ah, I mean, I love the Michael Gandolfini scene where he burned BB. And then we go right into Vanessa setting up Luca. And I was just like, I was praying for these things to happen, but I didn't think they would. And they did. What a treat. What an absolute treat. Watching Vanessa just feed Luca up to Kingpin and by extension Buck. Man, Buck's a good shot. I love that. That was fantastic. Both those scenes, I was like, yes, more of this. And I want Daredevil to have more of this too. You know, I want his arc to be more like this. I'd say just get rid of Kirsten, get rid of Cherry, get rid of Heather. I mean, just get rid of everybody and just have him. I was talking with the wife and I was like, it would have been more interesting if after Foggy's death he had fallen apart. Kind of an homage to the comic book, what happened in the comic books. And he loses his firm and he loses his apartment, all this stuff, and he has to build himself up from absolute zero, and then he's born again, and bring back that priest character from season one. I don't know if anything happened to him. I can't remember, but he was a good character to have in Matt's life because Matt's Catholicism is very important to his character, and I think it's very interesting and compelling to have that priest's perspective on things. And I wish they had had a better character Stick. I felt like the Stick in the season, what was it, season one, season two, whenever he shows up, was yeah, he's a little weak. He's a little weak, especially considering I come from the comics and I have that Stick from back in the '80s, I believe it was. Elektra Lives Again and Elektra Assassin and so on. That's the Stick I'm used to. So. But anyway, wrapping this up, it was not a bad episode, and it is not a bad series, but it definitely has glaring weak spots, and it could have absolutely used a bit more polish, a bit more time in the oven, and the actors absolutely deserve this. The acting in this show is superior, and it's very enjoyable. I'm still enjoying the show, if for nothing else, to see where Kingpin goes. And I would petition Disney to change the name to Kingpin Born Again. I just get spicy. But that's all I got for this week. I will check back in next week when we get more drops and let y'all know what I think. So that's it for today. Thank you all, everybody who stops by. I hope you have a great day. It's rainy and nasty here, so enjoy the weather wherever you are at. Hopefully, it's better than here. So I'll catch y'all later. See you.